People think of the word standard and they think it's a fixed object. Okay. They're not. We raise standards. The APFT, we raise standards for years, because once the service adapts to it and you realize there's room for improvement, you set a standard and then you can increase it. Now, sometimes we have to reduce standards, right? And because why? The Army is just like society. It's made up of its population. If you create a standard that nobody in America can achieve, it's not a standard. I cringe when people say, "Oh, you reduce this or raise this." There's many times that we've raised standards because our soldiers were able to achieve them. They were so good and they were getting better. And sometimes, yeah, I'm gonna be very forthright with you. Building the ACFT, I was in the design phase when I was a trade ops sergeant major, all the way up until just implementation right before I left. We varied the standards during pilot phasing up and down dozens of times, trying to figure out what is the standard. When we apply this thing that's going to have a huge effect on a very large population of people, and we want it to be fair and equitable as possible, right? Because it's not perfect.
Right.
It's hard to determine the standard. And then when you do set a standard, and then you finally release and tell, all right, now the whole Army do it, because you're gauging it from a very small population when you're testing it. Then you realize, well, it's not working. And sometimes you got to go up and down. People look at the word standard and they think, oh, it's fixed. Back in 1965, this is what we had to do. Education, physical fitness, and weapons qual standards have increased exponentially over the last 3 decades. So when I tell veterans from years ago, well, the soldiers are not like we were. I said, no, they're better. I can show you all the statistics. And we raise standards